Welcome to another episode of Bush Talk. Today, there's still plenty of things to talk about. You know, to put all the pieces together of the puzzle in relation to how our government operates and how it maintains control over the people of Australia. And even though we don't really know this, well, we haven't been told. Well, in a way we have been told, but none of us have actually sat down and looked at it, had a close look, and just to confirm for ourselves what our government really is and how it exists, or what is it. On first hand, people assume that it's there. They were born. It was there when we were born. We've got a Labor Party, a Liberal Party, and we've got the in-between, the independents, and it gives the impression of all being fair with a lot of people from this walks of life and that walks of life and their beliefs, and they all believe that if they get into this parliament or of this government, they can change things and, direct our government. And if the government had derived from the people of Australia, well, then this would be true. But you probably noticed in the past that, with many of the Prime Minister, John Howard promised the famous promise, there will be no GST, and sure enough, GST comes in, and then he goes, things have to change, whatever. And then Gillard gets in and makes the same promise. There will be no carbon tax, but she gets in, and then sure enough, in comes the carbon tax. Power prices again skyrocketing as people are just getting to the point where they can't afford even power. Even though the power is made from the coal, it belongs to largely Queenslanders, but they are Australians. The power station was built by Australians, Australian people. We did it all. So how can it be that it costs so much money to live? And how can it be that in relation to the carbon tax, 80% of the people voted against it in I think a News Channel 7 poll that was on the net? I think 17% voted for it. 80% voted against it on the tax, and 3% were in between. And yet, with that amount of people voting against it, we've got ourselves a carbon tax that's just pumped up prices. And the government say, well, it didn't put any prices up at all. The prices remained the same, but it just got plonked on top of it. So it didn't put the prices up. It just added the price on top. So, of course it put the price up. Put it up by the cost of the carbon tax, whatever this thing is. But, when we start asking, well, who tabled this tax? Who built it? Who's the person that's going around? As if it's all not too expensive already. And who's come along and then put these bills in the government for a carbon tax? And then how can it, after 80% of the people voted against it, how can it come in? Well, these are the questions, they're valid questions that all of you, people of Australia, should start asking. And all of you, people of Australia, you should start asking, well, what is the government? Where does it come from? Is it an Australian government? It's got all these so-called Australians in it. Well, where does it actually really come from? Well, in relation to the research that we've done with the Australian Sovereign Council and this small group of people that have done a lot of work and a lot of research into trying to find out what happened to our government, it looks like it's an American corporation registered as a subdivision of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, deriving from the District of Columbia, which is, as I said before, is 100 square miles in the middle of Maryland, somewhere in the United States of America. So if it's a private company owned by whoever owns the Federal Reserve, because if that's what the United States is in relation to, the Federal Reserve, the money supply, and if the Federal Reserve has got some tie-up with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, and then if the United States, if the Commonwealth of Australia and the state of Queensland, Australia, and the state of Victoria, if all of these entities are registered to that foreign entity called United States Securities and Exchange Commission that belongs to the Federal Reserve, then how can that government derive from Australia? All it's doing is employing Australian people. It's just a foreign company, just like McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's here employing Australian people. So it's not the government of Australia, it's the Australian government. It's the government that Australia's got because we didn't do anything about it, and we just sat back and believed that it was something that was actually factually not. Now, even the appointment of the Governor-General, Quentin Alistair Louise Bryce, she's a Catholic, so she's already surrendered her Quentin Alistair Bryce, if that's her original birth name. She's already become the new Cestui Vi Trust in the Vatican Corporation, so she's a member of that corporation by using the name Quentin Alistair Louise Bryce. And then she gets appointed as the Governor-General under the name Quentin Alistair Louise Bryce AC, which is now another name, another trust that's been created. So I guess Quentin Alistair Bryce is now the trustee for Quentin Alistair Louise Bryce and also Quentin Alistair Louise Bryce AC, the Governor-General. AC is the Order of the Eastern Star. It's a woman's Masonic society. It's the Masonic, it's the Masons, where the Masonry is a man's thing, whereas the Order of the Eastern Star is the woman's version of Masonry. Now, when she was appointed, if you go onto YouTube and search the appointment of the Governor-General, have a close listen to it. And she has not been appointed. What the Chief Justice has done is he's just agreed that the document, that's the appointment document, is a legal document. Illegal and legal are both legal. What makes an illegal document is an unlawful document. It renders the document either legal or ill, which means legally sick. But when he says, I've read the document and it appears legal, well, he's correct, because illegal and legal are both legal. One's legally sick, one's legally correct, but they're both legal, because the lawful ability of something governs the legal ability. So the Chief Justice, he's turned around, looked at the document, said to the government of that day, or that corporation, whatever you want to do, and makes a claim that it's a legal document, and then she's asked to sit or act as trustee for the office of Governor-General under the name Quentin Alistair Louise Bryce AC, and rather than being appointed as that, she's assumed the office. Well, there you go. She's assumed the office. So the word assume means to take upon oneself. So if she's had to assume the office, then the office of Governor-General has never been appointed, because she's just assumed it. If it was appointed by, if the Queen was the sovereign representative of the sovereign people of Australia, which she can't legally be anyway because she wasn't born here, but even if she was, if she appointed the Governor-General, then the Governor-General would not have to assume it, but she's had to assume it. And because the Governor-General has assumed it, Quentin Alistair Louise Bryce, or Quentin Alistair Bryce, whoever she is, because she's assumed that, then you assume it and accept that government as the government, when in fact all of the evidence exists that the government, the Commonwealth of Australia and all the other states are just nothing but foreign entities registered as companies and corporations to the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, Washington, D.C., deriving from the District of Columbia. Now, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I did my homework and I've done the work. I've looked it up. I've done the research. And when I ask Queensland Police or Federal Police or any person in government, I say, who do you work for? Did you apply for that job? It's not my fault. It's their own fault. And if you're working for the government and you've applied for that job, or if you're a Queensland police officer or a Federal police officer, it is you that applied for that job. The Rothschild family, or whoever owns the Federal Reserve, did not force you into applying for a job in his company. You all applied, which means begged for that job. So you gave the power to the governing corporation. No one else, you did it yourself. And because you did it, you gave the power to a foreign corporation. And if you are a person of Australia, then you've got some questions to answer in relation to, well, the words of treason and treachery. That's the legal, the lawful words that are used. I'm not calling you that, but they're the words you've got to start looking at. Or the people of Australia have got to start looking at the reality of the matter, the facts. And if any person steps outside of that corporation, the Commonwealth of Australia, because under Section or Article 20B of the Declaration of Human Rights, it clearly states that no person can be forced to join a society. A society is a corporation, and no person can be forced to join the Commonwealth of Australia or the state of Queensland, Australia, or the state of Victoria. And if that person decides to step out of that, he's got not even any legal ability to step into that corporation because it's foreign. Then the government of the day has got no ability to touch any person that steps out of that. And the sad part about it is because there was never a treaty between the original tribes that were here in the first place, then the original laws, the blackfella law, has still got a form of standing. So unless the tribal people, which is all the people that are born in Australia, have become tribal people, because they are the sovereign people, but if we don't make new laws and start taking back our country as sovereigns, then those old tribal laws, they may still exist. Not may, they are still there. You might not like these facts, and you may think that it's all a theory or whatever. But I tell you, there's people around all over Australia and the world that are waking up to this very fact of what's happened to the people of Australia and the world in relation to their sovereignty and the legal ramifications in relation to the way names appear, in relation to the capitis diminutio minima, maxima and media, which is the way names appear, and the legal meanings that happens when a name appears in such a format. That's the legal key that backs up all the things that I'm saying about what's happened to our government and the people of Australia. You better start doing your research, you Australians. I've been doing it. I've done my homework, and you better do yours too. Because if you don't, you're nothing but a citizen of the District of Columbia. If you don't do it, one day someone's going to ship you back that 100 square miles in the middle of Marylands. And I don't think it's... I heard that even the people that work in Washington, D.C., half of them don't even want to live there because of the rules and laws of the District of Columbia. They work outside, they drive into work, and they conduct their work inside Washington, and then they drive home, back over the bridge, past the Pentagon, and off they go back home, or wherever they live. Anyway, what a beautiful office. A couple of turkeys up the back. Could be one of them. Until next time.